Welcome back, everybody. So I want to address something. A few comments I've gotten about how this whole setup here, PSA Dagger with Recover Tactical Brace, I've had a few people say it's pointless, it's useless, real world scenario, you would never use this. And I just want to address that real quick, okay? First of all, if you have a problem with the PSA Dagger in it, okay, they make these braces for pretty much every pistol nowadays. So whatever pistol you already carry, you can get another pistol, get a brace, and you got a whole backup system. You can get these in any caliber pretty much at this point. I mean, if there's a pistol out there, they pretty much can bet they make a brace for it somewhere. And if they don't, there's 3D printed options out there. So, I mean, pretty much any pistol you can think of, you can get a brace for it. Now, my personal opinion, anything that's fun cannot be useless by definition. If it's fun, it's not useless. So, there we go. This thing's fun. End of story on that. Now, as far as this thing being useless in any kind of real world scenario, well, let's look at it for a second. First of all, everyone always hollers about weight, right? This thing, with a magazine and pretty much loaded, weighs a little bit less than this thing unloaded. Now, this is aluminum frame, of course, but this whole setup weighs less. Now, for those real world scenarios, okay, this is never going to replace a rifle. It's just not going to. Okay, shooting a pistol caliber cartridge is not the same as shooting a rifle caliber cartridge. But understand, the weight of this thing compared to an AR-15, okay, 9mm is a little bit heavier than 5.56, oddly enough. But because this whole setup is so light, you carry 200 rounds of 5.56, 200 rounds of 9mm. It's still going to be a lot lighter to carry this setup than it is the AR setup. Now again, I don't really care that much about weight. Other people do, so that's why I'm throwing that in. But again, light as can be. Now, I never hear anyone say that a pistol itself is useless. So, and all this is a pistol with a third point of contact. Okay? So you can fire this thing closed up. You can fire it just like this. It works pretty well. My finger's off the trigger for those guys out there. Works pretty well. You actually don't even really feel the brace on it. Again, this is a whole light setup. And then when you need that third point of contact, open it up. Okay, if you still don't like it on there, you can take it off, throw it in a backpack, and just have the pistol in your holster. Well, what's cool about this whole setup is you can holster this setup. I've shown on other videos the holster that comes with it. Yeah, you can holster this whole setup and carry it on your side. Now, if you don't want to holster the setup, you've got this really cheap, it's just a piece of elastic rope, pretty much. But in all honesty, I didn't like this. I thought it was cheap and some gimmick at first. Turns out I actually really like this sling on it. You throw this over your shoulder and it barely even feels like you're carrying anything. So, in my opinion, this sling's actually pretty cool. In fact, I use it quite a bit when I'm backpacking or something like that. Just throw it on my shoulder and have it right there. And again, because it's just a pistol inside of a brace, you can have the same backup pistol on your side. And if this were to ever go down, just switch them out. Or if your pistol goes down, well, you've got parts off of this thing. In fact, going back to the weight, okay, this whole setup, magazine, ammo, everything, and a second pistol for parts is still going to weigh less than an AR-15 setup. So, I mean, yeah, you don't really have to worry about spare parts. And honestly, if you got a good, reliable handgun in here, are you really worried about it going down? Now, as I've already said, this setup is not going to replace a rifle itself. But say you've got a rifle and you've got someone with you that's, maybe older, maybe injured, or not that physically, doesn't have the physical abilities to carry a rifle and everything. This is a great setup for them, okay? They're just that backup, but they've got a gun, they've got something to defend themselves. And what I find awesome about this, I'm going to try to change the camera around in a minute and show you guys, but you can operate this thing one-handed. So everyone, here we are. I got the sling around my shoulder. In reality, it would just kind of fall and sit at my side, but we're going to say we're firing, out of ammo. We've got to change mags. Okay, you can drop the mag pretty easily. Let's say you didn't want to lose the mag. Throw a couple fingers around the bottom, Let the gun fall. In reality, it'd fall by your side, but I'm trying to keep it in the picture. You got your mag, you retained it, put it in your pocket, whatever. Reach, grab your other mag. Here it is. Drop it in the gun, and button's a little hard to press on a magazine itself, but there we go. All right, everyone, in this scenario, let's say for some reason you got to rack the gun one-handed. You can do that too. Okay, I have a charging handle. We're going to ignore that and use the front sights themselves. The rear sight, sorry. But you just hook it on something, and you're charged and ready to go. One-handed, still the same. So there you go, guys. This setup can be used with one arm. You know, someone who's older, not as much strength in a single arm, or someone who's younger but injured, what have you, can all be used. So again, the older person, someone who's not as physically able, a good setup for them. Now, you know, if I'm in the plains of Wyoming, I'm not really going to want to have this because I can't reach out far enough. But for my area, personal, here in Louisiana, where there's trees everywhere, if I'm making a 100-yard shot, you know, I'm in the wide open pretty much. This setup still works. So there you guys have it. That's my take on it. I actually think it's a pretty darn backup gun, if you ask me. So thanks for watching, everyone. It fell.